Joining me now is Chad Wolf, former acting U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, and Lieutenant Chris Olivarez, spokesperson with the Texas Department of Public Safety. All right, Lieutenant, you're down on the ground. What impact will it have if we're diverting migrants from all these areas into one place? What's that going to do?
Well, Sean, good evening. It's going to have a significant impact. Now you're going to overflow one particular sector. And not only that, but we have to keep in mind, too, that the Mexican cartels control the smuggling routes. They're not going to give up their lucrative routes to divert illegal immigrants to a particular sector. There's multiple cartels that are involved with human smuggling, drug smuggling. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. I don't think it's going to be effective as far as when we're talking about how the Mexican cartels operate in Mexico, how they have operational control on that side of the border. So I don't think they're going to allow that. They're going to lose a lot of profit off of that. And the fact that we're going to now overflow one sector, that's going to strain even more resources. Now you're going to have Border Patrol agents pulled from other regions, other sectors to not process. So it's not going to solve the situation. It's not going to solve the problem that we're seeing on the border right now.
Yeah, and to ask Mexico to do this work for us, this bidding for us, makes no sense because, to your point, Lieutenant, the cartels control the border. You got to ask the cartels to do this, not the Mexican government. And, you know, the cartels, when they see this, that we're all overwhelmed, they can sneak, to your point, drugs and weapons and other paraphernalia, Chad, into the country. So the border with this policy becomes less secure.
Well, absolutely. It's not an effective strategy at the end of the day. If you're just going to rely on one thing, and that's the Mexican government trying to funnel migrants into certain sectors, it's a strategy that's just doomed to fail. It's time that the Biden administration actually gets serious and actually look at policies that work. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can go back to the Trump administration, or you can even go back before that and look at policies that work. And policies that work, including enforcing the law along that border, holding individuals accountable who choose and knowingly choose to break the law. It's also going after the cartel. So there's a number of things that the Biden administration can do. It takes leadership. It takes will. It takes the ability to make some hard choices here. And you're going to make some people upset. But that's what it takes to actually enforce border security and making sure that we're protecting those communities in South Texas and all along that border.
You know, I think the point, though, Chad, is this administration is not going to do that. You know, they want an open border. I know the policy could work. We saw it work when you were there and Donald Trump was in office. And I guess, you know, Lieutenant, so we all, if Joe Biden is not going to do it, we do look to Texas. And, you know, should the governor declare that this is an invasion, that he sends more troops down, National Guard down to the border to make sure we secure it, build more fencing, more wall? Is there more that Texas can do to secure the border, doing the job that Joe Biden isn't doing himself?
Well, of course there is. I mean, we've been doing it from day one ever since last year. And just most recently, the governor deployed 400 additional National Guard soldiers to El Paso. And they were actually able to put up razor wire and shut down that area where we're seeing the massive groups that were coming across. But now all that does is funnel those illegal immigrants to another area of the border. And of course, you know, Border Patrol, they're instructed by the federal government to allow them in. And because of that, we continue to reward and incentivize illegal immigration. That's why this is not going to stop. And to Chad's point, I mean, prior to 2021, we saw what was working. We had the lowest number of encounters and the highest number of enforcement action on our border. And that's been completely dismantled, and that undermines immigration enforcement. And as long as we continue to incentivize illegal immigration, we're going to continue to have this collapse on our border.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Chad, you know, some Democrats are finally calling Biden out over his policy. Watch.
I share your feeling of frustration and the need for more urgency, and I want to see that starting with the White House.
Should the president be here, you think?
I think absolutely the president should be here, and I think everyone should be here.
You know, Chad, I'm happy that Democrats are now calling out Joe Biden, but I wonder, why is it taking so long for Democrats, especially on the border in Texas, to call out Joe Biden for this failed policy?
Well, I agree with you. Where have they been for the last 23 months? This is not a crisis that happened overnight. It's not a crisis that happened last week or even last month. This has really since been day one of this administration that we have seen these numbers increase dramatically, and we've seen this crisis day in and day out for the last 23 months. Look, I'm glad that you've got some Democrats that are saying these things. I don't think they can ignore reality any longer, and I think they are realizing that there is no strategy in place. There is no plan in place. There is no change in tactics. The strategy has failed. They have tried it for 23 months, almost 2 years now. It has failed. They need to recognize that, and they need to change strategy, but they're not. And I think you have a number of Democrats that are speaking out saying, look, this is concerning. It's why they all almost universally don't want Title 42 to go away. Even though it's a public health emergency, it's the only thing that's keeping immigration and the border secure. They know that, and that's why they are for Title 42.
And that's why Joe Biden wants to end it. Chad and Lieutenant Olivarez, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.